All right, here we go with our second to last objective of the unit, which is objective 7 and 8, solving multi-step equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. So looking at this first equation, it looks a little bit more complex than we've seen, right? I notice that we've got x terms on the left-hand side of the equal sign. We've got one here and one here. And then we've also got some x terms or some variables on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So notice that we have variables, x, on both sides of the equal sign. So today we're going to talk about how we can solve these equations. The goal doesn't change. Anytime we're solving equations, the goal is to get the variable by itself. So the first step that we do when we want to solve these equations, so step one, just like how we have before, is we want to combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. Combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. So looking at this example here, I notice that we have a 2x here and a 2x here. So 2x and 2x is 4x. And then we've got a plus 4. Well, there's nothing else on this side of the equal sign, so that just comes along for the ride. So we bring that down, plus 4. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, we've got a 3x. Well, there's no other x terms on this side. There's no other variables. So this just gets brought down, 3x. But we've got a minus 5 and a plus 3. We can combine those. Negative 5 plus 3, we can check on our calculator. So we have negative 5 plus 3. That gives us negative 2. So a minus 2. Next up, our step 2 is we choose a side for variables and we choose a side for the constants. Now, what a constant is, that's just a number without a variable. So we choose a side for the variables and we choose the other side for the constants or the numbers without variables. And then we move the variables to one side, to that side, and the constants to the other. So we choose a side for the variables and we choose the other side for the constants. And then we move the variables to that side and we move the constants to the other side. So looking at this one, I want to choose a side for the variables and choose a side for the numbers. Let's say that the left-hand side is our variables and the right-hand side is our constants, our numbers. Left side is variables, the right side is our numbers, our constants. So what do we have to do in order to get the variables, all of the variables on this side? Well, we already have this x term, this 4x is already on the left-hand side. But this 3x is on the wrong side. We want to move that over to the other side. Well, in order to move this to the other side, we have to use that inverse operation, that opposite operation. So instead of a 3x, we have to subtract 3x. And if we do it to the right-hand side, we also have to do it to the left-hand side. So this is how we move things to the other side. Of course, on this side, it cancels. And then on this side, we have 4x minus 3x. Well, 4x minus 3x, again, this is just combining like terms. 4 minus 3 gives us 1x. Or we can just write x. We'll bring down the rest, so the plus 4 gets brought down, the equal sign gets brought down, and then the minus 2 over here gets brought down. So now we've made all of the variables all on the left-hand side. Now let's take a look at the numbers. We want the numbers to be on the right-hand side. So this one, this negative 2, is already on the right-hand side. But this plus 4, this 4 is not on the right-hand side. So we got to move that. In order to move that, we use the inverse operation. So we have a plus 4. To move it over, we subtract 4. We do that to both sides. So on the left-hand side, a +4 and a -4 cancel. -2 minus 4, well, let's go ahead and see. -2 minus 4 is -6. You see that okay? And so then this becomes -6. And then the x gets brought down. So we get x equals -6. Now, that is our solution. We found x. We got it by itself. But I do want to add one more step in our process here. Step 3, if you have to, solve as usual. In this case, we didn't have to solve. It was already solved for us. But for some examples, and we'll see, we're going to have to solve them for our variable. And so as a reminder, to solve, we use reverse PEMDAS. So that's the reverse order of operations. And then also, if you do something to the left-hand side, you must also do it to the right-hand side. Let's take a look at a few examples. So step 1, we want to combine like terms. So I look on the left-hand side, we have 4x plus 2. Are there any terms that we can combine with 4x? Are there multiple x terms? No, it's just 4x. And then also the constants plus 2. There's nothing to combine with it there. So that stays the same. 4x plus 2. On the right-hand side, we have 2x plus 14. Again, there's no other terms that are like terms for each of these. These are not like terms, so there's nothing to combine. We're just left with 2x plus 14. Step 2, we choose a side for the variables and we choose a side for the numbers. Let's switch it up. Let's say the right-hand side is the variables and the left-hand side is the numbers. Again, you can choose whatever you want. It doesn't matter. As long as one side is the variables and the other is the numbers, it doesn't matter. You'll still get the same answer. Just pick a side and stick to it. So if we want the variables over here, well, this is already over here, but we got to move this 4x to the other side. So in order to move it to the other side, we have to do the inverse operation. We have to do the opposite. So minus 4x. So on the left side, this cancels. That's good. That's what we want. And then over here, we have 2 minus 4. You can plug that in your calculator, or you might know that it is negative 2x. We'll bring down the plus 14, bring down the equals, and bring down the plus 2. So we get something that looks like this. So now all the variables on the right-hand side, let's get all the numbers on the left-hand side. So right now we have to move this plus 14 to the other side. So in order to move this to the other side, we subtract 14 from both sides. So on the right-hand side, these cancel. That's good. And then 2 minus 14, you can plug that in your calculator. You get negative 12. And then we'll bring down equals. We'll bring down our negative 2x. One more step here. We've got negative 2x. This is saying negative 2 times x. So in order to get rid of that, we have to divide by negative 2. So then these cancel. On the right-hand side, we have x. And on the left-hand side, we have negative 12 divided by negative 2. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So we have positive 6. So you can write your answer as 6 equals x. You can also write it, you can flip it around and say x equals 6. Both of these answers are acceptable. And now if you did actually switch and you said your variables on your left side and your numbers on your right side, then you would end up with this. But either one is acceptable. All right, go ahead and flip the page. A couple more examples. This first one here, step 1 is to combine like terms. So I see a 6x, I see a 4x. So those combine, you get 10x. And then I also see a negative 3 and a positive 11. So negative 3 plus 11, you can plug that into your calculator. You get positive 8. On the right-hand side, there's nothing to combine here. We've just got 7x and negative 7, nothing to combine, so that just gets brought down. Negative 7 and 7x, or 7x minus 7. Now we'll pick a side for the variables and pick a side for the numbers. Let's say We'll go left side is variables and right side is numbers. Again, you can do either one. Doesn't matter. As long as one side is one, the other side is the other. So then, let's see, we want to move the variables over here. So we got to move this 7x to the other side. So in order to do that, we subtract 7x from both sides. This 7x cancels. And over here, we have 10x minus 7x. 10 minus 7 is 3x. And then we'll bring down the plus 8, bring down the equals, and bring down the minus 7. Now we want all the numbers on the right-hand side, so we got to move this 8. So in order to move the plus 8, we subtract 8. So over here, these cancel. And we have 3x equals, well, negative 7 minus 8. You can plug that in your calculator. You'll get negative 15. And then one more step. We have 3x equals negative 15. We have 3 times x, so to get rid of that, we divide by 3. Dividing by 3, we have negative 15 divided by 3, which is a positive times a negative divided by a positive is a negative. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So we get x equals negative 5. One more example. I know it looks complex, but you know how to do it. Let's give it a shot. So on the left-hand side, we combine like terms. We have 5x, 8x, and negative 7x. So use your calculator so that you don't make any algebraic mistakes. Let's do 5 plus 8 minus 7. And that gives you 6. So we have 6x. And then we have a negative 12 and a positive 5. You can plug that in your calculator. You get negative 7. On the right-hand side, 2x and 6x. 2 plus 6 gives us 8. We have 8x. And then we also have 4 plus 8 gives us 12. So plus 12. Now, let's say the right side is variables and left side is numbers. So we have to move this over to the other side. So in order to move this 6x to the other side, we subtract 6x from both sides. So on this side, it cancels. On this side, we have 8x minus 6x. Well, that gives us positive 2x. And then I'll bring down the 12, bring down the equals, and bring down the negative 7. Next up, we want to move the 12 to the other side. So to move that, we subtract 12. The plus 12 and minus 12 cancel, so we have 2x equals. And then negative 7 minus 12 gives us negative 19. Our last step, we have 2x, so in order to get rid of that 2, we divide by 2. And you can plug that into your calculator. Unfortunately, this does not reduce, so our final answer is negative 19 over 2. And again, you can have that flipped around, say x equals negative 19 halves, or negative 19 halves equals x. All right, we're going to get a whole lot of practice on this, so study up, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.